Hey, so you probably found this video because the good people at Polyend have been doing some work on their play, and yes, they have released 1.4 now, and it's such an interesting little upgrade because not only have they fixed up some of the bugs and streamlined a few processes, they've added one major new feature, which is a new piano roll, and it just makes editing and manipulating chords, melody lines so much easier in a more visual way on the button grid. So I thought I'd use this video to go into some of the stuff that's been resonating with me and show off like what I find interesting. So let's get straight into it. Alright, I'm here with the Polyend Play, and really if you haven't yet, go on their website and you want to go grab down the new firmware file and the melody and bass line folder as well, because that's going to hold all the new bits to help us set up the Polyend Play. And when you get those melody and bass files, what you want to do is move them into their respective folder, read the instructions how to do it, and you just want to move the files so they're added to the library, because if you make custom ones, what could happen is they'll get overwritten if you just directly delete the old files and put the new ones in there. But that should get you into the point, and then what you need to do is just come into here, go down to settings, and then all the way at the bottom you have the firmware, and you install 1.4. And really, what does 1.4 bring? So I've just got like an empty program here. I have put the acoustic pack that's provided by Polyend on here. And what happens if we select our line, the way we used to program a melody is we'll come in here and then like change the note on each one, which can be a little bit tedious, but now we can just press this button, hold view, and now we've got this new view where we have a piano roll. Now I do have a little bit extra set up on this project because I'm using a scale. So I've got a scale set up so I can see all the notes along here. But this is a piano roll, so we can actually plot in our notes, say something like that, see how that sounds. And it just gives us another way to interact with this sort of groovebox sequencer. Now it's got a way that we can focus on our melody lines and chords. Like this way, like say if I wanted to play the notes lower, I could, we'll back out of that menu. We can scroll down here and then I can move the notes around. So if I want to say make that start one really low, maybe something like, and it's just changed up the melody again. But it's not just limited to one note. Like if I back out here and say select 4 of these in whole view, we can actually create chord stacks, and it provides a very nice way to like interact with sound. So I'm just using a scale because I know all the notes are going to work together, and then I could do things like move the notes around to see how they sound. Maybe we do something like, probably not that close, but, and do maybe, if that's there, we'll bring that down to here. Cool. So we can start building up on some really nice chord patterns, and we can add some extra notes in between. And like this red line is that root note as well. So we can sort of treat that as like we're going towards this way or going up this way. Really nice visual on how to do it. But it's like all this data that we've programmed in here, it's all nice and laid out in that sort of Polyend Play workflow. But when we're in this mode here, we can actually control it as like one data block. So a lot of things are synced across. So I can select everything by just tapping shift, and like maybe I don't like that sample, I can actually change the sound. So we can like apply the filter. So maybe, and we can do some things like say I want to randomize the texture of this. And then if we leave that phone, all this has become baked into the play. So really nice way to add like chords and melody lines and all that. But another feature, the one that I've been really resonating with, just because I like, one thing I was really wanting when it was like 1.3 was like I wanted to add like a Euclidean fill. So if I come, I think it's about here somewhere. Yeah, so what I'd be doing to create my melody lines is like create some random, and then I'll come in and start tweaking the note value to create my melody line. they've actually given us this random plus, which has a variety of different sort of styles of music. And it's like we have slow melody, syncopated, all that sort of stuff. So maybe I pick maybe this one. Something interesting. Let's try a melody. So fill that. And we'll bring all of it together. And it just like, it gives me a jumping off point to get to a really nice position. And same thing with that fill, we can actually apply a whole variety of different. So now with these two major inputs into the Polyend play, like I just kept using as this drum machine or generative idea machine, but now I can get into sort of those more melody things I really enjoy with like the trackers and the way I enjoy making music. So I thought with this sort of point, like there is a few other things, like all this sort of information, if we go into the MIDI settings, like we can apply those fills in here. So now we've got all that information as MIDI data. And as you can see, with all that MIDI information that we just generated and we scroll down, we can see all that as a piano roll. So it's just like we can have an idea, we just put a few generators in, we could generate a little break beat, and then we pull in the new MIDI and then we can start tweaking it. So like a few of the things, like I've just got it set up now. So if I want that note to be shorter, I can come in and adjust that as it's needed. So a lot of all this is linked, and yeah, that fill tool is part of MIDI as well as the pattern. So a lot of the tools are sort of transitioning over to the MIDI section. So this has got a lot more power. And I think with any new update, it's always fun to have a play. So I'm just going to use these samples here to see what I can make with using these new tools. Fun there, but really if you haven't got the new firmware, definitely put it on there. And I will say have a look at that page too, because it sort of covers everything that they've tweaked and added to the device. So there might be things that you resonate with, which is perfectly for you. Like I'm just very happy to see a very interesting groove box have some way to be able to make the melodies I really enjoy making. So I'm pretty happy at this point, because this video was kind of like a bottleneck. I was waiting for 1.4 to come out because there were some really nice features, especially with the sample packs. I wanted to highlight in future videos and do a little bit more deep dive into it. So you probably will see more content coming from me about the Polyend play, but in the end, if you did like this one, definitely give it that thumbs up. It does help the algorithm point this to other people, and I think getting the word out, like especially upgrade your machine, it's definitely worth it. So if you do ask any comments that you want about the 1.4 edition, I'm happy to conversate down below. But in the end, if you want to stick around, I look forward to seeing you next time.